throws, and it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He comes back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. I'm your host, Gil Valtierra, the voice of Calaveras football. It's game night. Your Calaveras Redhawks are on the road to face Argonaut High School in Jackson. My guest today is none other than head varsity football coach at Calaveras High, Coach Manny Mossa, and number 7 at the novice Calaveras Junior Redhawk football program, Ethan Mossa.
I think they're louder with this guy.
Yeah,
here.
I think they're a fan of number 7 there. And welcome, guys. Thank you for being here. Ethan, how are you?
Good.
All right, good, excellent. So, hey, let's take a look at last week, and let's let the folks have all the Calaveras faithful out there know what happened last week in Calaveras football. The Calaveras youth teams is where we'll start. They were at home at Frank Meyer Field to take on the Escalon Cougars junior program. And I got to tell you what, Coach, you know how I feel about Escalon. I've got beef since 2010. I've been coaching in the Calaveras program a long time. Escalon is a foe. They are not a friend. And to do the PA announcing and watch all 4 of those youth programs send Escalon home losers and basically just, yeah, take that long drive down Escalon Balota Road and bye-bye. So great job to the Calaveras Junior Redhawk football program. Let's start off with the junior novice team at Calaveras. Coach Mills sent me their information. They were victorious over Escalon 45-6. It looks like Jax Watson had 110 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns and 1 interceptions. Tucker Mills had 61 yards rushing. He had a touchdown and 5 tackles. Gino Varney, 31 yards rushing and a touchdown, 5 tackles. Maxwell Green had a touchdown and 5 tackles. Bronson Jenkins, 42 yards rushing and a touchdown. One of those I saw, he broke some tackles. Boy, he really wanted to get in that end zone.
That was a good one, wasn't it?
It was. That was impressive. Trent Hughes had 5 tackles. Vincent Vella had 3 tackles. Lucas Smith had a sack. And then defensively, continuing on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Mills says that Maxwell Green and Trent Hughes each had 6 tackles each. Tucker Mills had 5 tackles. Gino Varney 4. Jax Watson 3. 2 tackles each for Bronson Jenkins and Gunnar Lefebvre. And then Vincent Vella also had 2 tackles. Tucker Mills had 70 yards rushing and 36 yards receiving. 3 touchdowns. Nice day. Jackson Watson, 118 yards rushing, then 3 touchdowns. Bronson Jenkins, a 48-yard rushing touchdown. That's the play we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. And then he also had 35 yards passing with a touchdown pass. Gino Varney, 35 yards rushing and a touchdown, and a great all-around team win. Coach, tell us about this junior novice team. I mean, they're 40 points plus every week.
Yeah, I mean, it's another 7-on-7 game. And they have so much speed. It's tough. It's tough, for teams to eliminate that space, eliminate the distance, man. And those kids, Watson and Mills, they get out there and they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've only had one 11-on-11 game this year. That's when things get real. But these 7-on-7 games, I think it kind of works for them.
Nice. Well, I called all 4 games there at the home field. and they were the first game, and I was already popping cough drops after so many touchdowns. I was like, boy, they're tiring me out in game one already here.
Yeah.
But you got to love to see that and see you guys have success.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the novice team where number 7, Ethan, plays. They were victorious over Escalon 19-13, and which was a much closer ball game. Coach Arledge sent me some highlights offensively. Nolan Mint had 9 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. He also had a 72-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Ethan Mossa, who's in the studio today, 10 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
So 10 yards, 63 yards and a touchdown. The offensive line battled against a much bigger defensive line. And the O-line, Lucas Mellinger, Landon Carneseca, Landon Nunez, Braden Rowe, and Braden Hughes and Cooper Watson all did fabulous jobs. Defensively, Gregory Mills had 2.5 tackles and a half sack and a tackle for a loss. Landon Nunez, 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Ethan Mossa, 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Nash Kamenzen, 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Cooper Watson, 1 tackle, 3 tackles for a loss. Levi Lim, 2 tackles, 1 of those for a loss. Leonard Powers, 2.5 tackles, half a sack and a tackle for a loss. And Nolan Mint, 2 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss. Coach Arledge says that defensively Calaveras did very well. Escalon drove down the field on the opening drive with a very well-scripted first drive. After that drive, the Calaveras D settled in, accumulating 11 tackles for losses, limiting the Escalon offense for the remainder of the game. Coach, you were on the sideline. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it was a tough game. We know Escalon is always coached well, and I think the older the kids get, the better they're getting coached, and they're settling into their system and what they want to do. I think they had 6 or 7 X-Men when we were weighing in, and they were big. They got off the ball pretty well, but I'll tell you, our guys did just enough. They were able to move them. We were able to open some holes. Running backs were blocking on the edge. Our fullbacks, Trillo and Kamenzen, did a very good job this week on getting on guys, staying on guys, and really helping open some holes. I think it was an all around. It was a good game for our guys because we were tested.
Right.
They were big. They were good. They came at us. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. They even got a play where they cover up the tight end, and I wasn't too happy about that. It happened 7 times. That's something that we got to get with the officials and clean up. But yeah, I thought they had a pretty good plan. But our guys hung in there. They played all 4 quarters, and it was a hot one out there too. It was
a hot day, and to come away victorious against a pretty good football team in a close game like that, 19-13. Let's talk to Ethan, number 7 here, because he played in that game. How did it feel to play in that game against Escalon when you guys won 19-13 in a close game?
Very good, and they were very good.
And so it feels good to beat a team that's pretty good, right?
Yes.
Good. Let me ask you another question, Ethan. Who's your favorite varsity player at the high school?
Josh Monza, the tight end, because he can make really good grabs.
Nice. And he did. He made a good catch on Friday night. So, all right, I like that.
Yeah, he did.
What about this tonight against Argonaut High School? Friday night, Calaveras is going over there. It's their homecoming, tons of people. Who's going to win that game, Ethan?
Definitely Calaveras.
All right, I like to hear that. All right, so number 7, Ethan Mossa for the novice Calaveras team. His contributions in a win, 19-13. Let's move on to the JV team. Coach Vince Montgomery sent me some info on that one. They started out the season 0-3. Coach, we kept saying every week they're doing the right things. They're in close games. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to be fine. And they were more than fine. They beat Escalon 26-6. And I told Coach Montgomery, congratulations, you finally got off the schneid. So he did a great job there. He sent over some info. It looks like number 10, Bryce Botello, had 8 carries for 89 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Number 21, Mason Williams, had 11 carries, 148 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. The JV's offensive line really stepped up this week and helped get the squad its first victory. So kudos to all you guys up front to play the offensive line on that JV team. Excellent job. Defensively, number 44, Luca Varney had 2 sacks and 9 tackles. Number 8, Daniel Steinhoff had 1 sack and 11 tackles. Number 13, Levi Weldon had 2 sacks and a fumble recovery. And number 86, Dion Willingham had 6 tackles in the backfield. The defense was solid all around, shutting down the Escalon offense and only allowing them 1 touchdown in their 26-6 victory. Comments on this game, Coach?
Oh man, it was good to see them get a win. You know, they're figuring things out. You know, the kids on the field are figuring things out. You know, what's good enough, what's not good enough, and I think they found something with Bryce Patello there. You know, they're starting to feed him the ball a little bit. He's got a great yard per carry average there, and I think just overall, I think they're coming together as a team. You know, the kids themselves, you could see the kids, they're figuring it out. They've had a rough 3 weeks. I think they're tough. They're tired of losing, you know, and that's no slouch of a team they play. That's a good football team. Escalon's always good. And, yeah, you know, just watching them, seeing the smiles on the faces afterwards, that was good. You know, you never want to see any team go undefeated. Or excuse me, defeated.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just that's not a good thing. You know?
I mean, and it's not like they were getting blown out. They were in every game they were playing.
Absolutely, I felt the same way. I felt like Waterford was a very good JV team, and Amador is a very good JV team. I think they might have caught some of the best JV teams right at the beginning of the season there. You know, they keep working, keep doing what they're supposed to do, spreading the ball around like I see them spreading the ball around. I mean, hey man, sky's the limit.
You bet. So let's move on to the varsity, coached by Troy Paulson. They're coming into the Escalon game 3-0, facing a very good Escalon team. They were victorious 19-8 in a very close ball game, back and forth the entire game. I mean, it came down to the fourth quarter before it was actually even put away and determined. Coach Paulson sent over some information. Looks like Austin Locke had 156 yards on 17 carries. Also had a passing touchdown for 40 yards. Traxton Gobble had 33 rushing yards on 7 carries. Jamison Atkins, 4 carries for 20 yards. Cannon Moore had 1 carry for 8 yards. And Gavin Verduso, 2 carries for 6 yards. Defensively, once again, Titan Grant on the defensive line played a very strong football game. They'll go to 4-0. And when I look at that varsity team, I just think, man, Coach Paulson has got these guys going as far as the plays they run. They're very much looking like just like a high school Calaveras football team. And as the head varsity football coach at the high school, that's got to make you smile. Yeah,
I think you said it too. They look like a Calaveras football team. It's not always pretty. But they're not going to quit. They're not going to give up. They're going to keep hitting you, you know, from start to finish. And, you know, I mean, it was the fourth quarter, and Calaveras was down. All right, and then they scored right there when the fourth quarter there scored on I think it was a long run.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they added one towards the end there, but yeah, I mean, that was a physical game. That was 2 big football teams right there.
I look at number 5, Austin Locke. I look at number 6, Timewell. And I'm thinking, boy, those guys look good now. In a couple more years, I mean, you hit the weight room, you start training pretty good. I mean, those guys are going to make a name for themselves in the next few years.
You know, and they got that Calaveras mentality. You know, they're just tough.
Yeah.
You know, tough kids. And that O-line, man, I tell you what, you know, we've talked about it. You know, blocking to the whistle. You want that official to think about throwing his flag because you block right to the whistle. And man, they do it. They do it. And I tell you what, man, I mean, they do it. It's clean, right? There's no late hits. There's no cheap shots. They just a couple of those guys on the O-line, they just physically dominate.
Right.
You know, and I tell you what, that to me is very, very intriguing.
Very nice. Moving on to the high school, the junior varsity high school team was at Ripon Christian High School. They played a very tough JV Ripon Christian team and ended up coming out on the short end of that game in a very close game, 8-7. They had their chance at the end. They just couldn't really get it done. So the final score was Ripon Christian 8, Calaveras 7. Any comments on that one?
Yeah, I don't get to see the second half of most of the games, but I mean, I think it was 7-8 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Sure it was the first half.
Yeah.
So second half must have just been a battle.
Just a defensive grind.
Back and forth, battled. Yeah, I mean, look, our guys, they're figuring things out. Ripon Christian's always a tough team, well coached, and that one I think it might sting a little bit, but 7-8. I mean, hey, it's a loss, but you play tough. You play tough against a good football team, and we talked about it before. We set these schools up. We want tough games,
right? Yeah. And I'm sure Coach Tapia will go back and look at the film, and in a close game like that, you're going to see like one play here, one play there, and just go, if that would have just went the way it was supposed to, it'd be a completely different game. So to the high school JV team and the coaching staff, Coach Pops, Coach Tapia, keep it up, keep up the good work. You'll be fine. Just keep it pushing. Let's move on to the Calaveras High School varsity team. They were at Ripon Christian. They ended up coming up short 27-6. The score looks like a little bit more than if you were there, this was a much closer ball game than what it was. What ultimately was the demise of the varsity team at the high school was penalties and turnovers inside the red zone at the most inopportune times when they can happen. The worst times they could happen, that's when they happened. And it just seemed like that was the difference. Coach, you go ahead. You tell us.
Yeah, no, I think you said it. You said it best. The turnovers and the penalties just seem to happen at the perfect time for Ripon Christian, And look, I after watching the tape and settling down a little bit, because I wasn't very happy with the end result, of course. Man, we're very, very small adjustments away from being able to, not just compete with that team, but win that game.
Yeah.
We turned the ball over 3 times. You can't win a game if you turn the ball over 3 times and you don't get any back.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened there. And we went over a lot of things this week, a lot of missed assignments, and overall our effort level is not bad. Like, it's good. It's good enough to win games against a good team like that. We just got to clean it up. We got to settle down. We got to clean it up, and we're going to play more teams like that. We know that, and we know our league. We got a couple of teams in our league that are really good, and we're going to have to play our best game to beat those guys, and we were far from our best game.
Right.
And kudos to Ripon Christian, good football team. They played our style of football.
Right.
And they kind of did what we want to do, which makes it kind of hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they're always a well-coached team. Coach Graham's, he's got those guys playing pretty well down there.
Yeah, I think we talked about it, and I've been around this game long enough to where I felt like I know the difference between when we go in and we play somebody and we just got beat by a better team. They were better than us. And then when you go in and we just didn't execute, we shot ourselves in the foot, and that's a team we can beat. And I think that Ripon Christian game was the latter. It was the second game. Calaveras can definitely beat a team like that. They just shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and I mean, we lost by 3 scores. By no means do I want to downplay, the Ripon Christian. Again, they were the better team, no question. They were the better team that day. We can be the better team, but we have to get there. We have to work for it.
Right.
We got to be able to handle the pressure, of a big game there. We got to be ready to go. We got to focus and be ready to go. I will say, if I was to say something bad about our team last week, is our focus level wasn't where I would like it to be. So that's my fault.
Right.
I got to clean that up. I got to make sure we're focused and ready to go. And, hopefully this week against Argonaut, here today we are.
Right. So let's go over some of the stats here. Curran, the quarterback, he was 4 for 9 for 68 yards, had 2 interceptions. We talked about the turnovers in the red zone. One of those was kind of crucial, getting ready to go in and score. He's scrambling around and just made an ill-advised pass. He's only a sophomore. He's going to get better. But that was, those 2 interceptions came at very crucial times. Ortega, he was a reception for 26 yards in receiving. Clifton, He had a 10-yard reception. Not much in rushing there. I have 5 for 9 yards. Yeah. That's surprising given how much yards he's got in the first 2 games. So I don't know what Ripon Christian did there to kind of stifle him a little bit. Ferrante had 14 carries for 86 yards. Spur, 5 carries for 18 yards rushing. Hernandez rushing, 2 carries for 25 yards. Paulson had a 12-yard catch. His rushing yards was at 14. What did you see what his rushing yards were? I think it was 14.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So and then Monzo, your player Ethan Monzo had a 20-yard catch that was a nice play down the field. That kept a nice important drive for Calaveras going. What we're going to do here is, like we do every week, we're going to talk to some of these players. But before we do, let's take a quick little break to hear a word from our sponsors. MRM Stone has over 1,000 natural stone selections, fabrication services, and delivery available. With over 60 years of natural stone sales experience, we stock and sell natural stone thin veneer, flagstone, boulders, pavers, retaining wall block, structural block, cobble, pea gravel, mulch, and the tools necessary to complete your project. Our inside and outside sales staff is eager to help with your landscape or masonry project. Stop on by 2173 Highway 12 in Valley Springs, or go to mrmstone.com or give us a call 209-763-5761. That's 209-763-5761. MRM Stone, your masonry and landscape stone supplier. All right, welcome back. So as promised, I've got some player interviews. The first one I want to share with you was Chris Ortega. He's number 3. He starts at strong safety on the defense. He had some really good defensive plays on the defensive side of the ball, stepping up and making tackles. Let's see what Chris had to say. All right, I'm with number 3, Chris Ortega. He starts on the defense of strong safety. Chris, tough loss last Friday against Ripon Christian. Tell me about what you saw out there as far as their offense goes and kind of how it all went down. I mean, did you see when they were throwing the ball a lot? Did you see a lot of it coming your way? Did you see him trying to go the other way? What did you see on the strong side?
They ran it mostly more to the weak side a lot.
Okay.
Like especially when they got into that weak tee, they're going a lot to the weak side, other way from the motion.
Right. It seemed to me like it was mostly just mistakes that happened from Calaveras side, not so much that Ripon Christian was that invincible. I mean, do you look at them and say that's a team that possibly could probably beat later in the year?
Yeah, I think we could possibly beat them later. I think we had a bunch of missed tackles, a bunch of kids just getting beat on the outside.
Gotcha. So just some things you got to clean up and get fixed up. Talk to me about Argonaut. So we got Argonaut on Friday. You guys are pretty familiar with them, even though they're not in the league anymore. What's your feeling about going into Friday night in Jackson?
Last year went there, it was their homecoming. This year we're going there again, it was their homecoming. Every time we play them, even though it's not a rival, it feels like a rivalry match against them.
Right.
It's always a tough game. They got good running plays up. Yeah.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck on Friday, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
All right, so that was number 3, starting strong safety on the defense, Chris Ortega. He's been doing a pretty good job on the defensive side of the ball, Coach. Tell us a little bit about his comments.
Yeah, we felt we could have played a lot better on the edge there where he's playing and some of the other sides, the other side of the ball there, or I should say the other side of the defense. He's a gamer. He's big, long. He can reach guys. Still figuring some things out. He's been moving around a lot. So he's still figuring a couple of things out, but he's always ready to play.
He's a big body. When I see him come flying up when he has a chance, he's not afraid to use his shoulder pads and helmet.
No, not at all. Not at all. which is exactly why he's in the game. I mean, he's not afraid to come get you. He doesn't waste a lot of time. And we preached last week, eliminate space. space is not our friend on defense, you know, and he's one of those guys that he has no problem getting up in there and eliminating space.
All right. Well, let's hear from our next player that I had a chance to talk to. He's number 6, the sophomore, the starting quarterback for Calaveras Varsity team. Little bit of a rough outing, his first time having to face the kind of adversity that he did. And let's see what he had to say. That's number 6 starting quarterback, Cohen Curran. All right, I'm with number 6, Cohen Curran, Calaveras Varsity starting quarterback. Cohen, rough game on Friday against Ripon Christian. Tell me a little bit about what you saw and kind of what all happened.
Yeah, it kind of felt like we were a little bit off, like all night. I just feel like, I feel like we need to come back together this week and put some work in, go get Argonaut next week.
You bet. It seemed like you guys played really well. It was just mistakes in the red zone and penalties and those types of things. What are you going to do this week to make sure that doesn't happen on Friday against Argo, which, by the way, it's their homecoming again?
Yeah, we're going to go into the film room. We're going to look at the mistakes that we made. We're going to go back on the field this week, and we're going to correct those.
All right. How's it feel starting at the varsity level at quarterback when you're a sophomore?
It feels pretty good. It's definitely a lot faster, but I have the guys behind me to come and help me and come and guide me.
All right. Excellent. Well, best of luck on Friday. I'll be out there rooting for you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Coach. So number 6, Cohen Curran, the starting quarterback. I like that. Hey, I got a good surrounding cast around me to help me out, so I feel pretty good about it. What do you feel about his comments?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. He's got a lot of guys that can carry the ball and take a little bit of the load off his shoulders. We got into a couple of parts of the game where we had to throw the football, and I think that's where we need to get better. Not just at the quarterback position, but also the receiver position. We gotta win the route. We got to get open. We got to win the route. Our timing needs to be there. If we got a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, we got to roll. I mean, the timing's got to be there because it all goes together. And
right.
So that's something that we worked on quite a bit this week. So hopefully it'll show on Friday night here.
You bet. So next player I had a chance to talk to was actually on the offensive line, the starting center. He snaps it to Curran every play. Nathan Cavanaugh, you guys call him Buddy.
Yep.
And let's see what Buddy had to say. Okay, I'm with number 55, Nathan Cavanaugh. They call him Buddy. He's the starting center on the offensive line for Calaveras Varsity. Tough loss on Friday night against Ripon Christian, first one of the year. What did you see on the O-line on their defense that made it kind of tough?
The guys were just really big. It was really hard to get them out of the holes. We made mistakes on the front line. We need to fix those. That's what we have film for. And then we just need to stop making those mistakes. Yeah,
I saw that big nose guard that was laying up over the top of you. He was a big boy.
Yeah, he was.
How did you manage to just keep battling, even though you knew you were kind of outmanned there at some point when he was coming hard?
If I knew he was going one direction, I just had to get in front of him. I just had to keep fighting. And then most of the time, I had my guard, Jacob Rado, to help me out. Like on belly, we would single, double team him. But if I didn't have that, I would just have to either slow him down or just try to push him the other way.
Yeah. So this Friday, Argonaut once again scheduling Calaveras as their homecoming. How do you feel about going into that game?
I feel like it'll be fun.
Yeah?
I feel like we have a really nice chance of beating them. We're going to go watch film right now and then go to the field, practice, and then I feel like it's going to be really fun.
All right. Well, I wish you the best luck on Friday.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Coach. So the only other player that touches the ball every single play offensively, the center, Buddy Cavanaugh. Tell me about him.
We take him for granted. He stepped right in here. He's a junior, stepped in and under center, shotgun. It doesn't matter. He gets the ball there. He handled their big boy, I think 52 or 53, I can't remember.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
He handled him the majority of the night. I don't believe that nose guard made a play, on a run play or a pass play. And he didn't get a lot of help. It was only a couple plays where he got help.
Right.
So, he's a stud. He's one of those guys. He's been in the weight room since football ended last year.
Nice.
You know, yeah, he works so hard, and you know, we take him for granted.
Yeah,
we do. You know, we don't worry about the ball getting to the quarterback. You know, and that's when you do have those problems, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. Right? Like, what's going on here? We got
what do we do?
We have to figure this out before we do anything else. You know, and with him, we don't have to worry about it.
Well, he may have a little bit of a reprieve this week, because he's facing an even front. And I think he's actually going to, for the first time, line up uncovered and be able to just snap the ball and then worry about his blocking assignments, right?
Yeah. From what I can see, yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me.
You never know. You got to be ready. They can come out in a 50. And
hey, man, Coach Hickman, he knows what we do, you know, and he's going to have a little something for us. I can almost guarantee it.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see it. So the last young man we talked to was actually the starting kicker. I can't remember the last time we've interviewed a kicker, but I had to pull him aside and talk to him. You know, there was a little bit of you know, you guys came out in the second half against Ripon Christian, tried to surprise him a little bit, and there was a mishap there with the kick. So I had a chance, and what a upstanding young man to say, hey, you know, sure, I'll talk about it. He didn't shy away from it. Nathan Cameron, the kicker. Let's talk to him and see what he had to say. All right, I'm with number 80, Nathan Cameron, the starting kicker for Calaveras High School. Nathan, doing pretty good as far as point afters and kickoffs and all that stuff. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about being the kicker so far this season.
So far this season, being the kicker is pretty fun. It's a little worrying that I don't have a backup kicker, because if I were to get injured, then we would have to resort to just a random. But yeah, I'm really liking it. This is my first season in football.
What year are you in?
I'm a senior.
Okay. All right. And so now this past Friday, a little bit of a tough game, first loss against Ripon Christian. Start the second half, you guys came out to kick off, and there was a little bit of a mishap. Were you guys trying to do an onside? Tell us a little bit about what happened there.
So, start of second half, we were trying to catch the other team off guard with an onside kick. And when I went to kick it, I tried to kick it like normal, just to the right, 10 yards in front. And I guess I just whiffed it with the side of my foot, and it went sideways, which eventually rolled 10 yards backwards. But after that, I had a penalty for taking off my helmet, which eventually went into a touchdown.
So then it moved the ball even farther back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about football. You never know. You bounce that ball, you don't know which way it's going to bounce, right? Forward, sideways, backwards. Okay, so a failed onside attempt, that happens. So tell me a little bit about this Friday and how you're feeling about going into Argonaut. They're having their homecoming. They used to be in the Motherlode League, so Calaveras is very familiar with them. How do you feel about your confidence level of going in and ready to kick on Friday night against Argonaut?
I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm hoping we'll power through their defense and just get a bunch of touchdowns, give me more opportunities to kick, and then I'll be really comfortable on Friday. I'm trying to work on my stress level during games, and once I get that down, I'll just be banging them through.
All right. Well, know the rest of us out there that are watching are cheering for you, and we wish you the best of luck on Friday.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Coach. So you heard from your kicker, Nathan Cameron.
You know, kickers and corners. They got to be the most confident people on the field, right? I mean, I love it. Look, we test them every week. You know, hey, you make it, we're done.
Right.
Yeah, you miss it, we're running. You know, the pressure's on him. All eyes are on him. We test him every week. That one kick got away from him. That was it wasn't exactly the way we drew it up.
No.
know?
And when I was calling it on the radio call for KVGC, I immediately, clearly he was attempting an onside kick, which was a great call coming out in the second half. If you guys recover that and go and change the whole momentum swing, everybody's going, man, that's awesome. But hey, these are 17-year-olds out there, and sometimes it doesn't happen the way you plan it and the way you draw it up.
Right.
He muffed the kick. It took a bad bounce. Next thing you know, along with the penalty, Ripon's in business already in darn near your own red zone, and that changed a little bit of the momentum there.
Yeah, it makes it a little tougher on Coach Clark and that defense, when you give them the ball on your own 30 to start.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
what do you do?
What do you do?
If you don't take the chances, you're never going to reap those benefits, I guess. So
you got to risk it to get the biscuit.
There you go.
All right, well, let's move on to our next segment we call From Around the League. Obviously, we just talked about Ripon Christian beating Calaveras 27-6. Tonight, Calaveras heads off to Jackson across the river to play Argonaut in a once upon a time fellow Motherlode League team, but they are no longer in the Motherlode, but it's going to be the last preseason game before league play starts next week.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit how you feel about going over to Argonaut and playing that as the last game of the preseason.
It's going to be a tough game, no question. It always is. Argonaut, Amador, old Motherlode foes. Coach Hickman, he coached with us for a few years. He kind of knows our system and what we do, and he's doing a little something different this year. They're going to spread us out a little bit. Space is not our friend, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be. It's going to be a good game. Our kids, they're always up for the task when we're going to go back and play Coach Hickman.
Right.
They get fired up.
Well, I mean, it's Coach Hickman, and so they should be fired up. The other thing that gets me if I'm a player is I'm like, oh, we're your homecoming game again?
Yeah.
Right? Because, for those of you out there listening, what's the big deal? Typically, your homecoming game, you want to try to do everything you can to make sure that maybe that's a team that you feel pretty strongly that you're going to win and beat because it's your homecoming and everybody wants to win on homecoming. So you don't face a number one seed on homecoming or schedule a number one seed on homecoming going, oh, that's going to be tough for us. You try to find a team that you feel there's a higher probability of having a win there. And for 2 years in a row for Argonaut to schedule Calaveras as their homecoming game, I don't know. I mean, that's a little bit of a, I don't know. You tell me.
Yes and no. Sometimes it's just the way the schedule works out too.
Yeah.
You only have so many home games. For us, we have a 2-week break. We don't want to schedule a homecoming during a 2-week break. We can't do that.
Right.
And so, I don't take a lot of offense to it, but it's definitely some motivation for the kids. Nobody likes to lose on homecoming.
Right.
Right. And, let's go give them a loss for their homecoming. It doesn't take a whole much more than that to motivate me as a 17, 18-year-old kid wanting to go play a former coach,
There you go. I like it.
I think it's going to be good. Argonaut, those guys over there, they're great. The fans are great. That stadium, that field's a little different. That's got Motherlode League written all over it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be a fun time.
Well, I'll be up top with the headset on, calling it for KVGC Radio. Be sure to tune in. Other teams from around the league, Big Valley was victorious over Mariposa, 35-12. Tonight, Big Valley is on bye. In fact, it's quite interesting. The 7 teams active in the Motherlode League, 4 of them are on bye this week. There's only really 3 active teams. Big Valley, 2-1. I mean, I said it with Guy Dossie and Greg Stark when we did the 2024 Motherlode League podcast on that episode, and we talked about Big Valley being this team that's just, a grinder, a hard working. They slowly but surely find ways to put W's and wins on the board. So that's interesting to me to see how they're going to finish off and how they do in league play. But congrats to Big Valley. Bret Hart put up 35 points, but still came up short against Denair. They lost that game 54-35. Tonight, Bret Hart is also on a bye week. But that's 2 pretty good showings in a week for Bret Hart, Coach.
And putting some points on the board. 35 points, 54 points. Those poor officials were running up and down the field there, weren't they?
Exactly. So congrats to Bret Hart for a couple of decent showings the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure Coach Osborne will get these guys ready on the bye week for league play the following week. Linden fell short for the first time to Destiny Christian, 40-21. Tonight, Linden will play host to Center, so Center will be at Linden. But they did lose their first game to drop to 2-1 to Destiny Christian 40-21. Any comments on that one?
You know, holding Linden to 21, that's a big deal. I mean, we know they can put some points on the board, so I'm not sure exactly what Destiny Christian did, but whatever they did, it worked.
Yeah, it did. I mean, they're a team that's been putting up 40+ every game, and not just this year, going all the way back to last year. Last year they were averaging all 10 games. It was like 44 points a game. So they're a pretty prolific offense. And so you're right, Destiny Christian found that magic key to kind of shut them down a little bit. To 21 points. River Islands, after their first win of the year, got beat by Chavez 58-0. Tonight, River Islands is on a bye, so they'll be able to kind of just pick up the pieces, recuperate, get back to the drawing board, and get ready for league play next week. Any comments on that, Coach?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
To beating a team like you beat them and then to come back and lose like that, that's always a tough one. And toughest part is just keeping the guys engaged. Sometimes games get away from you. That looks like a game that just got away from them there.
Yeah. So River Islands will fall to 1-2. Riverbank will head off to San Juan to play San Juan at San Juan. Riverbank, we talked last week. We heard from Coach Perillo. They had won their game up in San Francisco and then had a forfeit. So they're 2-0, and then they'll be headed to San Juan. So good luck to them as they finish off their preseason before league play. Somerville was victorious over Waterford, 46-12. And then Somerville also is going on a bye, so they'll have a week to get ready for league play. Any comments on that one?
I mean, either us or Linden, we might have some visitors for Friday night's game. So it looks like everyone's got some. They don't have anything to do Friday night.
They got nothing to do. Sounds like we may have quite the crowd over at Jackson Dan Barnett Field.
Man, bring it on! Bring it on! That's great. I mean, sometimes it's kind of nice to go to someone else's game and just watch.
Yeah.
Coaching, that's a lot of work. Sometimes it's, go get a hot dog and a soda and just watch someone else play and someone else do all the hard work.
There you go. So let's take a look. We've heard from around the league as far as all the scores and when they are tonight. So far, 3 games in the Motherlode League standings. Somerville is undefeated at 3-0. They're at the top of the mountain there. Riverbank right behind them at 2-0. Calaveras at 2-1. Linden at 2-1. Big Valley Christian at 2-1. River Islands at 1-2. And Bret Hart at 0-3. And when I look, Coach, at these 7 teams, the first thing that strikes me when I read all these records in the preseason is that 5 of the 7 teams are winning records.
Yeah. I wasn't even really looking at that. Yeah.
So that's pretty good as far as a strong showing for the Motherlode League to get out there and have winning records in the preseason. And it'll make it, I'm sure, pretty competitive as league play begins the following week.
You want your league to do good.
You
want everyone in the league to do good because that's only going to make you a better football team. I mean, take a look at the TVL, for example. I mean, they've had, the Escalons, the Hilmars, the Houstons, the Ripon, now you're adding Sonora and you're adding Ripon Christian. I mean, that's a tough league, but I'm telling you, every one of those teams are going to be better because of it.
Yeah. Definitely. Looking at other games in the surrounding areas, Argonaut, after their bye week, Coach Hickman got them going again. They were victorious over Livingston 31-23. And then obviously tonight, they're going to play host to the incoming Calaveras Redhawks as they go into Jackson to play Argonaut. That's going to be an exciting football game.
Hey, I'll tell you this real quick. We obviously have that film. It was kind of refreshing to see the veer.
To see the veer?
Their veer option.
Wow.
That's what they were running. Yeah. I mean, it was, it's been a long time. You know, that's obviously at Calaveras. That's what we used to run when I played.
Right.
Was the veer, So it looked at the first few plays. I goes, no way. No way, And a little different than how we used to do it. But of course, everything's better now. There's just new stuff now.
It's tough to defend, but offensively, I'm not a fan because anything that has a higher probability of the ball hitting the ground and creating turnovers, I'm not a fan of.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Ball hit the ground. I think the Argonaut got 2 or 3 fumbles in the first half.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they capitalized off each one.
Yeah. Now, if they can get it going to where like they minimize that, it's really hard to stop. It really. Sonora shows that with their triple option, right?
Right.
So I'm sure when they first started, it was like, oh, this is trouble. But then they've gotten so good at it, it's just completely so hard to defend.
Yeah.
So I will say that on the other side of that. Amador went down to Simi Valley down south, and they were victorious over Grace High School 52-39. Tonight, Amador's on a bye. We mentioned Sonora. They beat Antelope 55-6. Sonora is also on a bye as they'll get ready to start TVL play next week. We're going to go into the next segment of This Week in Practice. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors. Ready to transform your backyard into an outdoor paradise? Look no further than the Paver Company, specializing in hardscaping, landscaping, outdoor living spaces, turf, decking, and more. They are your one-stop shop for all your yard upgrade needs. As a family-owned and operated business with over 25 years' experience, the Paver Company takes pride in their top-notch craftsmanship. Get started today with a free estimate and custom design. Make your yard the envy of the neighborhood. Visit us at thepavercompany.com or call us at 916-222-8844 to schedule your consultation. That's 916-222-8844. Let's turn your backyard dreams into reality with the Paver Company. Treats General Store in San Andreas, California is a proud sponsor of Calaveras football and the Let's Talk Football with Coach Val podcast. Treats General Store has everything you need from groceries, meat, liquors, and hardware. Treats General Store since 1852. All right, thank you and welcome back. So this week at practice, Coach, how'd it go? Let's tell our viewers a little bit about, you mentioned earlier about a little bit of a different look from Argonaut. So what's their offense look like? What do they run? Have they got any key players that we should be looking at? And how'd this week at practice go?
Yeah, I think they got a offensive full of good players. They're a little different than what the normal Argonaut we see. A lot of spread, ace double slot, but they still run the ball. They still run it. They still put it on the ground, which makes things tough. They spread you out and then run at you, and you got to have guys willing to read a key and step up and fill and make a tackle. Again, I think Coach Hickman, he's been working all summer long on these guys, and I think they're running their stuff very well. Quarterback throws the ball pretty well too, so we're gonna have to do it all. We're gonna have to cover. Gonna have to play good run defense. We this week in practice, we kind of worked on ourselves. There's no point in coming up with a defensive plan if we don't do the fundamentals right. And so that's really what we worked on this week is all the little things, the fundamentals. We have to know what to do when we get there, and we'll see if it pays off. I felt like we had a pretty good week of practice this week. Guys were engaged. Guys were working hard, and we didn't have anybody quit, if you will.
Right.
Had a rough showing on Friday last week, and sometimes you get some guys that just they don't feel the need to work as hard now. Maybe they're a little down or whatever, depending on who they are in their position and how they played, and we didn't have any of that. The guys, I felt they came to work really hard. We worked on these little things. We told them, be ready. We're gonna coach you up, and soak it up. Don't fight it. We're gonna put you in the right position, and once you're there, then it's up to you.
Yeah,
get the job done.
Nice. I've always felt like, from a strategic standpoint, it's always been tough on defenses when you do the opposite of what tradition says. So Coach Hickman's going to come out and in what looks like predominantly a passing formation and run the football.
Yeah.
Or when teams come out and double tight end and, power eye running backs, no receivers, and it clearly looks like this is a running formation, and then they throw the football. Yeah. And so when teams come out looking like one thing but do the opposite of that puts stress on a defense of trying to be able to kind of adjust to something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the plan, I think, Coach Hickman's he's gonna spread us out. He's gonna get us kind of out there to cover the pass, and then he's gonna try to run it inside. They got a big offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They're big, and so we're gonna have to be on our game if we want to win this one.
And I've seen some of the film that they've got that white out that lines up out there, and he looks like he's well over 6 feet tall. And they like to get him the ball quite a bit. So the DBs and safeties, backers are going to have to be ready for that.
Yep, absolutely. Our DBs, we played okay last week. We gave up. How should I say this? The plays we gave up, we just gave them up at the wrong time.
Right.
So we got to tighten it up DB wise. We got to be a little tighter on guys. We can't give them all the space to work. And that's being a DB coach. That's what I always, try to coach up is space, eliminate all the space. And that's what we got to do. We got to stay on top of guys. Don't let them throw it deep. And if they do throw it short and they do make the catch, we got to make the tackle.
You bet. All right. Well, anything else about Argo and your team and tonight's game and this week's in practice before I move on?
I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be it's going to be a good old-fashioned Motherlode League battle.
You bet.
From what I can see, that's what we're expecting.
You bet. Well, kind of an interesting thing. Every week I talk about how to listen to the game on KVGC radio. Normally it's on, KVGC, go to the oldies. That's a home of Calaveras football, and you can still do that. But the game is also at Argonaut, which is in Jackson, which is the home of KVGC radio. So it will be on 1340 96.5. It'll be on their YouTube channel. It'll be on the Facebook Live. So it's going to be all over the place. In fact, my understanding is they're going to have both broadcasts going in simultaneously live. So the Jackson crew will be announcing their portion of it, and then myself will be announcing the Calaveras portion of it simultaneously, all at the same time. We may come together at the half and maybe do a little bit of a little, halftime segment of our perspective of the game thus far. So it'll be really fun, just bringing both crews all together in the same spot for this game. So it should be exciting.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for the KVGC radio part. Be sure to tune in, come down to the game. It's going to be exciting. As always, we're to the part of the show, Coach, where I could throw my 2 cents in and get something off my chest. I like to call Coach Val's rant. So bear with me here a minute while I get this off my chest. You okay with that, Ethan?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go. This week, I want to talk about resilience. Webster's Dictionary defines this as an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. In other words, perseverance, persistence, stubbornness, tenacity, backbone, fortitude, self-determination, grit. People with these characteristics know how to get back up and dust themselves off and move forward. They know how to have a short memory and forget the past and focus on the now. They get rid of the rearview mirror because the job in front of them is more important. People with this kind of focus and resilience are like captains of ships. Someone can throw a rock and hit the side of the ship, and plunk, it falls in the water, while the captain and ship are unfazed. It's Friday night, so it's full power, all engines, full steam ahead. Tonight, boys, you need to talk with your helmet and shoulder pads. Remember the 7-on-7 versus Argo during the summer. How did that go? Remember those feelings. There are people wearing green and gold out there that don't believe you have any self-determination, grit, or resilience. Well, the Calaveras Redhawks are at Dan Barnett Field tonight in Jackson to take on Argonaut High School. Calaveras Redhawk players, this is your stage to showcase your resilience. Calaveras Redhawk football. Let's go! Sorry, Coach. Had to get that off my chest.
Someone else here enjoyed it.
All right, you heard it, folks. Get down to Jackson, Dan Barnett Field. It's going to be a huge game. YouTube, it'll be on the air if you want to see it. It'll be on the air on the radio. It's going to be live in Jackson. I'm sure there's going to be a capacity crowd. We are pretty much out of time here. I want to thank all of you out there for listening. Thanks to Coach Manny Mossa and number 7, Ethan Mossa, for taking the time out to come out and do this. And good luck tonight, Coach.
Hey, appreciate you having me.
You bet. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. And be sure to share the page with all your followers and friends. You can now text the show a message under the Send Us a Text Message link in the podcast page you're using. Of course, you can always shoot us an email at gilbertvaltierra@gmail.com. Be sure to tune into the games live every Friday night at 7 p.m. by downloading the KVGC radio app and clicking on the oldies button. You can also listen to brand new episodes of Let's Talk Football with Coach Val every Friday morning to get the latest news, scores, and happenings of the Motherlode League and surrounding area football every week during the football season. Until next time, we are out.
And it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He comes back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play.